to the curve, where ideas take flight. Blending tech and teaching, sparking insight.
All right, well, welcome to another episode of The Learning Curve. I'm Carl Moan, Digital Learning Specialist here at Region 7.
I'm Visual Ed Coordinator of Digital Learning.
And we have again with us, I'm so excited, Michael and Michelle, our librarians. And we've talked a couple of times before about the services that they offer, and they are just amazing, and we really enjoy getting to work with them. And we're so glad that they're here today, because we never get to see them or talk to them. And so we've got a couple of questions that we want to ask. And so we've talked about digital resources and robots. We've talked about Text Quest and just all of these things. But when you get down to it, libraries are about books. And sometimes we try to lean into how can we use our space in really creative ways to engage students. But books are important. Books matter. And so the questions that we have for you today. So first of all, we're just going to live in a fantasy land right now. All right? So you get to design a new library. You have unlimited space. You have an unlimited budget. What do you buy? How do you set it up? And we'll do both of you so you can both, because maybe you both have different ideas. So Michelle, ideal library, where are we going? What are we doing?
Ideal library, I would have space for, say, 25 books per student. That would be ideal. You would have multimedia space. You may have a space that has a green screen, or I've seen some wonderful libraries with some glass rooms so that kids can go in there if they need privacy to record something or to work on something, but yet you can still see them, they're safe. I think a makerspace would be a big part of the library. All the robotics, all the STEM, bring me all the things. And just a space that could be flexible so that your carts you have your books on are on wheels, the furniture's on wheels, maybe the tables are whiteboard tables where they can plan out and brainstorm all of their great ideas. And so all of that being on casters or wheels means that you could just reconfigure that space for whatever you needed it for. But I think the most important thing of any library is just that you love the kids. And so I think that's first and foremost, and the biggest part of drawing kids in and making it their space. And also, while I'm just dreaming here, I would include the kids on every step of the process. You know, what are you going to use it for? Because what I think they might use it for might be different than their priorities. So I would definitely have them in on the process.
Yeah. Michael, same question. Ideal, and you can't just say what Michelle said. You've got to offer something else here.
I was thinking as she was talking how wonderful everything she said would be. So one of the joys we have of going to 70 different libraries is you get to see so many different things, so many different configurations, so many different wonderful aspects of libraries. So one library might have a lot of glass, and in my perfect library, since you threw out the scenario, I would have a wall of glass to see outside, just as big as you could give me. I would have really nice corners to put things in, just good tight corners to put books or resources in that lead to other rooms or places to do things. And then what Michelle said, to piggyback off her, was one of the things that we really encourage and that we've really seen is to make a library warm, to make it inviting. That's a big hurdle to get over for some libraries. So using that, I would want as much comfortable seating as I could have, just odd seating, traditional seating, different places to have seating to feel comfortable, and then from the tech side, just every plug you can think of for the STEM and the tech and the projection of things. Maybe in the new age, maybe just a video wall, where I could have the outside windows here, but a 45-foot fireplace over here that we could do, or virtual field trips. You just bring your class, and we've got a wall of screen to do that. So that's what I would lean into pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. I would come to those libraries.
I know I'm not a librarian, but when you are talking about that warmth, I just see two electric fireplaces in the middle, actually radiating heat, but in a safe way, and have cozy little places for kids to read. But that's just pie in the sky. I'm getting cold.
I see a fire pit with s'mores.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
That's a bridge too far.
We have a library who has a fake fireplace, but she has a screen down in there, and she's got the logs burning, and so it gives that aesthetic.
That's really cool.
We've seen built-in seating in the walls. So if you're familiar with Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's place, he had seating in walls, so he could roll out one side to one room, one side to the other. So again, unlimited everything.
Yeah,
I would have
yeah.
seating inside walls, and you roll out to the shelves to get the books, or you roll out to the STEM center to get in between the rooms. And then a second story. It's always
Yeah.
been a dream of mine. So to climb a staircase, preferably a spiral staircase to the shelves at the top. So yeah, 2-story library.
Because I've also got this Beauty and the Beast kind of image
Yep.
with the rolling ladder too. I've always wanted a rolling ladder.
OSHA would not approve,
No.
but
Yes.
it's amazing. We need that. We
Would
need
not
that.
approve, but I would like to have, candle day where the library was completely dim and it was only lit by candles.
These are some good
Well,
ideas.
and
Yeah.
not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but you mentioned something there, kind of a little bit in jest, but in reality, you've kind of done some of that with the book tastings y'all do. Can
Yes.
we squirrel for just a second
Sure.
and talk about what a book tasting is and with the lighting and how that?
Yeah.
Book tasting is so much fun. There's several different ways to do it. The premise is you get students to look at books that maybe they wouldn't normally look at. So you could do it by genre or nonfiction versus fiction, but I've seen it done several different ways. One of the neatest ways I saw it was the teacher turned her room into a cafe, and she had tablecloths and the whole 9 yards. They had a menu of books they were looking at, and what they do is they come in and they rate them and they make notes of them. And so we had an appetizer round and a main course and a dessert round. So it was 3 different times that we moved, and so we moved from table to table so that they could see different books, and the kids really get excited, and those books are the ones that fly off the shelf because they got to read a little bit about those books, and they're ones they might not normally gravitate to.
And I think kind of with that and some of the things we're talking about our optimum design layout out, so much of it, what we've talked about is the aesthetics of the room, which is really interesting because, a lot of times aesthetics doesn't come into play in education. We are a very cost-focused kind of business, for lack of a better word, and we're trying to get the most money out of every penny we have to improve the learning for our students. And that's a great thing, but I think sometimes there's that cost of that. And I think you foster excitement in your students, you foster their creativity based off of the design and the layout of things a lot of times. And that's and I think y'all have a unique perspective because you're in so many libraries, and that library is such a central location typically on these campuses, it can really become that heart. And I think we may talk a little bit more about that later. I want to steal too many other talking points and stuff.
Yeah, well, and I think that right there, that's a great way to consider, because we're talking about and I'm going to just go right off of that line that you just used. We're talking about the center of the of the school, right? Where there are lots of pieces to the building, lots of parts of where things are, whether it's where are we going to put the cafeteria or the gymnasium or the offices, but why should, and I'll phrase it like this, why should the library be the center, whether it's physically or not, but the center of the school?
I like that question a lot. One of the things that we encourage and challenge our people with is we want the library to be the hub. That's the word we use.
That's a good word.
The hub of everything, not just information, but the hub of warmth or the hub of gathering, just to see it as that heart or that hub. When you say why should it be, well, just go back in education. There was a time where if you needed information, you needed to go to the library. You needed that library card. So it's the hub of information if you need information. Well, in school, it just branches out from that. So this is not only where the kids learn to love books and learn to enjoy and see how books can go into every subject and all that stuff, but it's also where the teacher can go if they need something to prop up their lesson or get excitement built in their lesson. And we want to take it further than that, and we want the librarian to know all the resources. Have you tried this AI? Did you know we have TextQuest? We want the teachers to see it as that place they go for their information and their encouragement and that sort of thing with the school. So absolutely, I want that library to be the center of the educational universe, because as it always has been.
Yeah.
I mean, think of colleges. What's one of the biggest things on the major college? Well, this is the library. And I think it still works in 2024.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with everything he said. You want it to be, if somebody needs something, you want the first thing to pop in their head is, oh, the library, the librarian. She's
Yeah.
going to know, she's going to be able to help me. But I want to take it one step further is we have the awesome opportunity to be in a school that actually has a community room.
Mm-hmm.
So it offers kids that maybe need clothes or toiletries, a safe place where they can go, whether they're young or seniors, and they can go, and if they need, shoes, or they need an outfit, or just basic, soap and toiletry items, they have the opportunity to go into this community room that their community donates to and get those things free of charge.
Yeah.
And this person also runs a backpack program so that those students, if there's a long holiday, there's a weekend, they have got food ready to go for them.
Yeah, that's
so,
fantastic.
you know,
I love that.
What I love about that story is that's not just the students alone. Like, that's bringing community into the whole district in a way. I mean, I think building those connections with community is so important. And again, it's providing that hub that y'all speak of.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, there's not enough words to express how amazing what that story is on there. So that's just amazing.
And just on the practical side, on most schools, what's one of the biggest rooms on campus? It's the library. Where can we have all the meetings in the library?
Yeah.
Where could we house a place where kids can come grab a coat without everyone knowing they're in there? Where can we have all the classes come to do a robotics lesson? You can't do that in the classroom. But most schools, you have that space in the library.
And again, to that point, your gymnasium is bigger.
Yeah.
It has bleacher seats. It's set up for a viewing of things, but yet they choose the library. And I think that really speaks to what y'all are getting out of it being the heart of the school, because people feel safe in the library. They feel welcomed in a library. They feel accepted in a library, and they feel as though that library is part of them as well. Like, they take some ownership in there, whereas, and no offense to anyone that loves gyms, but we generally don't have our meetings there because there's not that connection to that. And we're communal creatures, and so we are driven by that to build connections, and I think a library is a phenomenal place to have those there. I think that's just naturally what we gravitate towards.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to reverse it now,
Okay.
because we know that, as BJ referenced a minute ago, we don't live in a world with infinite funds. We don't live in a world with infinite space. We are limited in, I love the idea of being able to move stuff around. I think that's phenomenal, and not just for the library, but anywhere. I love that idea. But we know that's not the world that we live in. So, the same question, except backwards. You have $7 and you only have a dark room. What do you do with the library? And I'm being facetious with that, but we know that we're limited. And so, and because of your experience and exposure with 70 libraries, what are ways that people have used limited space and funds to create this hub of learning for their schools?
I think you just have to get creative. It just depends. You can get a 99-cent green tablecloth, plastic tablecloth at the dollar store, and hang that up, and that can be your green screen, with the Dewey app. And so that's unlimited learning possibilities there. I think I always reached out to, parents and grandparents, using social media. My perspective or my experience has been that parents, grandparents really want to help the school, and they really want to help their kids. They're just not sure how.
Yeah.
So one project we did in our makerspace was we needed Legos, and so we just put it out on social media. If you're clearing out your Legos, because we created a Lego wall, and we were just inundated with Legos. It was wonderful. And we also did a sewing one, and I can't tell you how many grandmothers came up with scraps of material, sewing, needles, thread, buttons, anything we could have wanted or dreamed of. So it gave these kids an opportunity, in that STEM class to learn, how to sew. And it was just really neat. And so I think, your parents and your grandparents are a great source. Social media is a great source because people really want to help and to give. And I just think, apply for grants. Just this week, I've heard about so many grants being offered from, their school's education foundation. I heard a wonderful story yesterday where a librarian applied for a book repair machine, and because there were multiple elementaries in the district, they were like, well, if she needs it, they must all need it. So they're all getting these great book repair machines with all the supplies. So, and then you can go out on websites, and there are lots of ways to apply for grants and funding. And so I just think, just be creative.
Yeah.
And that's one of the joys of our job is when we call each other and say, let me tell you what so-and-so's doing. Because they certainly don't have unlimited funds, but we have seen a lot of good people trying their best and having success, which is always wonderful. So it might be something as simple as we had a library that came in, and when they saw it, they realized that when you walked in the door, it wasn't very welcome. Where the shelves were placed and where things were placed. So the first thing they did was move shelves. And you think to yourselves, that's just shelves. No, it wasn't. When you walked in after that person put the time and effort in, you thought, wow, this is way more welcoming just to see these books here and be able to walk here.
Yeah.
And just that small thought process, no money involved, helped change a little bit of that library for the better. So just to see how people overcome these obstacles. When we think about money for books, we know people that go to half-price books and just ask, hey, we have a library that needs books for kids. What would you do? And you'd be surprised that people are generous and say, please take these, use them however once. We had one recently, teacher was retiring and had a great classroom library, and she heard of a library in need, and she was like, what can I do to get my books to that library? We've all seen it in education, in public education, people helping people and trying their best. But as Michelle said, I think one of the things we encourage them to do is make those needs known. Speak up and try every you can, because you never know who will say yes when the time comes. So if I had $7 in space, I would start talking to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
No, that's great. You've spoken about it already a few times. This idea, we're talking about shoestring budget. The number one thing is showing kindness and caring and welcoming. That's free, but it takes effort. So, can you speak a little bit? You've both been in the classroom, both been in libraries. I feel like people that work within the libraries have a unique role within the district, within the campus. Y'all are the relentless encouragers. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and what that's like with the relationships with the students? Because you're not the teacher of record for 120 kids. You are the librarian for 300 kids, 500 kids, whatever, however many kids you are. What's that like? How do you build those connections, relationships? How do you make them feel welcome? Those kind of things.
That's the best part of the job, actually. I don't grade them, and we don't, really handle behavior problems or anything like that. So we're a little more like their helper, and so we get to know them on a different level. As far as like that barriers wall is down when they see us, because we're helping them with literacy, with finding good books, or we're helping them with a STEM exercise, or we're just greeting them on the way to the cafeteria or wherever, trying to get them excited about books. And many of them confide in us, what's going on in their lives, and they like to see us, and they like, to keep us updated. And it's just great. We get to know them on a different level than necessarily being in the classroom. And so I think that that's just a special relationship that we have.
And it goes back to the earlier point of us seeing the library as the hub. Ask yourself what person at a school has 350 interactions with students before lunch. So I was a librarian at a small school, but on average I checked out 350 books a day. So could be the same student coming back for 2 books, fine, but that's still 350 interactions where hopefully I was able to smile at them and talk to them about things or ask them how their day was going. And that's just a unique position. It's a unique room with a unique position. And not to say that the gym teacher doesn't do that, or that teacher with 20 does an awesome job with him every day. It's just part of the wonderful thing of public education, that you also have this person who gets to see the kindergartners and the fifth graders, and how much of a positive impact they can have on them. It's really interesting when you think about how that works, and just how many times a day that happens.
And I think what has happened with libraries and with librarians in the last 20, 30, 40 years in education is it's stopped being just the person behind the desk who checked out books. And the role has shifted dramatically, partly by necessity because of the vast quantity of resources that have become available. Or now, instead of just being, and I'm going to reference an earlier episode of the show, instead of just being the person checking out books, now you're the person with the cool robots, which is, I don't know when you got an education, when you got into the library, if you thought, hey, you know what, one day I'm going to be coding with robots. But just the shifting nature of libraries and librarians. Can you speak to that a little bit, maybe in your own experience, or perhaps trends that you've seen?
Sure. The library is a unique role because you're the only one on your campus. So you have to manage the kids, the classes, everything. So what we've seen is a lot of libraries go to self-checkout. So with the littles, they may have their barcode. They scan their barcode, they scan their book, because kids can handle that. And, even the older kids, can handle that too. And so that frees me up from being at that desk to check in and check out books. So I can go and I can teach a lesson, and then kids can filter through that need to change their book out and get something different. So yes, I just think it's being flexible and adaptable to those kind of things, so that you can do multiple things. And then librarians are some of the best people on the planet as far as like sharing resources and helping each other. It's truly amazing, and I think it's because we are the only one in that role, and so we reach out to other librarians and build that community, and we're just, at the drop of a hat, any librarian will just stop and help you with a resource or anything else. And so we're just honored that they'll share, this works for me, or hey, this isn't working for me, what's your idea? And so I just think that that's a wonderful thing about libraries.
One of the things I've seen, and I know Michelle has as well, but one of the greatest assets of public educators is that they move when things move. They're always flexible. They're always learning a new way of doing things, or a new test, or new teaks, and they take it and they figure it out, and the kids benefit from it. And I've seen that through 20 years of education, and beyond that when I was a student. Things changed in the 90s, and the teachers just changed right with it. Now computers in every classroom. So we see these librarians as this great resource for the entire campus. And what I've seen in the short time that I've been working with these librarians is that they are getting better at showing the teachers that they are this resource. So we've seen partnerships form between teachers and librarians, to where it's like, hey, I'm bringing my kids on Tuesday to do that thing that we do every Tuesday in the library now. Whereas that might not have been there 20 years ago. Now those gaps are being filled, and relationships are being built to just strengthen education. And man, it's wonderful when you get to see that in live action. So
that's really cool. So the libraries are the place to go. And I've got one more question before we kind of close out. As we've seen the trends in we're in Texas, and that's where perhaps your expertise mostly is, but maybe around the country. I don't know how you can speak to this or not, but when we're thinking about the people who are running the libraries more and more and more, because it seems like there are fewer and fewer actual librarians, and we're using more paraprofessionals who are doing a phenomenal job in these roles. But just the shifting role of librarians and libraries in schools, and that may be a terrible way to ask the question. I'm just trying to think of how that dynamic has changed as well.
Yes. So You know, in today's library, it may not be a certified librarian. In Texas, in that role, it could be. We've got teachers, we've got paras. So just whoever is
Registered nurses.
yes. So whoever is filling that role is, who we try to help, and so. We have seen a shift there, and we've also seen a name shift. They may be called media technology specialists now. So just to reflect, they may change their name to reflect the changing job, because there is so much instructional technology being built into that library position now. And so, yes, they can go by a variety of
Can
things.
you walk us through briefly, because I think the uninitiated, myself included, wouldn't really know all the requirements to become a certified librarian. Obviously, bachelor's degree, and then is it a master's degree with time, with hours? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have to get your master's degree, and how do you know roughly? I'm putting y'all on the spot here. How many hours they have to do before? Because it's more than just, I got my master's in this. It's I have my master's, but I also have a set amount of hours doing this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can get your master's in library science, or you can do the certification of library science. But I think the master's is like 36 hours, and I think the certification is 33, so you might as well go ahead and get the master's. And then there is the school librarian exam that you take to get your certification. So you need your bachelor's, but you also need to have 2 years of classroom experience to be eligible. So you could work on it while you're in the classroom for sure, but that's the process.
And so with that, to some extent, I think we're seeing, we saw this in healthcare, a broader vein, with nurse practitioners. We see that shifting as well within education, within our libraries. And so I think that's one thing that y'all bring to the table in our Certified Librarian of Record program here at Region 7. Y'all are the Certified Librarians of Record for these districts. So you're being able to bring in expertise and help and assist people that may not have been a traditional, have been on the traditional librarian track. And you can provide it. Can you just give us a brief little view of what that looks like, or what that expertise is, or
Tell us your role. Tell us
yeah,
your
basically,
job.
yeah. Give us the elevator pitch for CLOR.
We it varies. Every district will be different. So picture a young person who has never been in a classroom, but for whatever reason they've put them in a high school library that hasn't been used for 40 years. Well, there's a lot of discussions that are going to happen on day one. Number one, we will tell them it's going to be okay, and we're going to be right there with you. But we'll have to train that person on how to check in and check out books. We'll have to train that person on how to look at their catalog and see what we need to do there, how to do a book order. And in that particular scenario, we would have to train that person on how to get someone to come to the library, because it hasn't been used in 40 years. So that takes us down different roads on that one. Flip side, it might be a person who's been working for quite a while to get in that library, and they have the degree and they're ready. They just need a little spark. And so we come in with ideas. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about moving this here?
Like the bookshelves.
Bookshelves. Right. Have you thought about having board games available for students who come to your library? And in both scenarios, one of the joys of our job is we get to see those people take that advice and run with it, and go places we never would have thought of, but because they needed that little spark. Or we get to encourage and say, hey, 6 months ago you didn't know how to check out a book, and now you don't even think about it. You are moving in the right direction. So we assess what kind of help is needed, and then we jump in and provide it the best way we can.
And I think too, we talk about the library being a part of being the hub or the heart of the campus, but our Certified Library of Record program also provides them a wealth of community. Every time you'll have a PLC, like we're having to move the room because there's so many people. I mean, there's I think 60 people, 70 people last time were participating, and I think that speaks volumes to both the program and what y'all do for our libraries across Region 7, which is just phenomenal. Building that hub within a hub. I'll call it. I just trademarked it.
There you go.
Michelle made such a great point. Many times, and it's not optimal, but many times the librarian is completely by themselves. They are one of one. So one of the first things we want them to understand is that we're with them, that they're not alone. There is someone they can call. And then that gets even better when they come to a room here at Region 7 and see that out of 50 people, 15 of them are on their 4th month just like they are. And then they can share the email, and then they can sit at the table and say, have you seen this? How's this working? And that's when we sit back and just smile and see that community, as you said, building to know you are not alone. And you're just as in anything, math teachers sit with math teachers because they understand each other. We want to give that opportunity for librarians to sit with librarians and say, you're a team. Even though you're far away, you have people you can call. So we get really excited about that.
That's good stuff. So as we wrap this up, and if you've been watching the entire arc that we've had with our librarians, this has actually been a pitch for our CLOR program, just to show all the amazing things that they are doing, and they truly are some of the most, I think, effective people at the service center, and where they go and how they interact with people in our districts. Because it's not just librarians. It's the principals, it's the support staff, and Michael will come to your school dressed as the Mandalorian or Batman.
Or Captain America.
Or Captain America, that's right. But I point that out just to show how engaged they are with their audience, with the people that they work with. And I can't say enough wonderful things about Michelle and Michael and the work that they do, and just so privileged that we get to see and listen to what they're doing. I'm so excited about that.
Kate for being a hero.
Yes. So if you've been following us, then these are the people you need to talk to, because they will make your library the place to be, and I'm so excited about that. So we've had you on for 3 episodes now, just of all the things. Any final closing words? And we're not done, because we'll have you back at some point, but any final closing words just for this these episodes here?
I would just like to say that it's truly an honor to get to go out to these libraries and help these people. It's just, like yesterday was an unexpected situation where I got to help, a lady, and it's so rewarding. I know we're helping them, but I really think we're getting the benefit because it's just a joy. And I can't tell you enough good things about the people we work with. They are just lovely, wonderful people who are doing everything for their students and teachers they can. So it's a joy.
I just have such a love for public education, because as we've all seen, I truly believe there's so many children that the only place they're encouraged, or the only place they're smiled at, or the only place they feel warm and protected and loved is when they get off the bus and get into that school. So to all your listeners and all the librarians and anyone else, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep loving those kids and being that person that they're going to remember. As we all remember our favorite teacher, there's a reason for that. And that's the impact we have on lives every day. And I know everyone takes it very seriously, and I'm just grateful for it. So.
BJ, any closing words?
No, ditto. All of them. No, I think I appreciate y'all coming on and giving us this time to do this, and I just think y'all are doing some wonderful things, and it's helping our districts across the way. So if you need anything from us, if we can help in any way, please reach out to us. We can come to your district and help you. We can meet you here at the ESC. We can do whatever it needs to just help you and your students with that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for watching, for listening. And we hope that you are blessed. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And it's almost Thanksgiving when we're recording this. I have no idea when it'll be published. So we hope you have a great Thanksgiving and great Christmas holidays. Thanks so much for joining us.
Welcome to the curve, where ideas take